What's good, Internet? It's Undead. I've played Fire Emblem Three Houses for about 30 or 40 hours so far, and I'm kind of loving it. I haven't finished my Blue Lions route yet, of course, there's a lot to do, but I did want to go ahead and make a video giving you my thoughts about the game so far, since I know some people are still on the fence about it. I will try to keep this video mostly spoiler-free, but obviously I'm going to talk about some mechanics and story elements that we didn't know about in advance, so no spicy spoilers, but yes, mild spoilers? In this video I'm going to cover stuff I mostly like about the game, some stuff that isn't so great, and other stuff. Let's go! First, stuff I mostly like. The setting. The world of Fodlan that we've seen so far is very picturesque. Hogwarts Castle, Garreg Mach Monastery, where most of the game's downtime takes place, is really genuinely fun to walk through, and the various maps where the combat takes place are dynamic and look pretty slick. No surprises per se, but I think the game designers created a really solid fantasy/medieval setting that is a lot of fun to spend time in. Next, the characters. We were pretty certain there were going to be lots of colorful characters in this game, and I'm happy to report we were exactly right. The cast is top to bottom, diverse and interesting, and every conversation you have or encounter has a surprising amount of depth. There were a lot of characters I thought were going to be dull or one-sided that have surprised me with something interesting. I'll make a separate video about this topic eventually, but for now I'll just say that my initial assessment of a few folks was pretty off base. Anyway, the characters absolutely make this game more dynamic, and I'm starting to grow very attached to a lot of them. Some of them are still slimeballs though. Sorry, Sylvan. Monastery tasks. A large chunk of your time in this game, in between battles, is going to be spent walking around the Garreg Mach Monastery and completing various menial tasks, including weeding, fishing, gardening, singing, and cooking. I was afraid that a lot of this was going to be tedious, but it's honestly delightful. The fishing task in particular feels like it's straight out of a Mario Party minigame. Even better, every task that you complete in the monastery increases a stat or level of you and your team in some capacity. All in all, it's a very fun way to mask what is essentially just grinding for XP, and just having a chance to live in that world has been one of my favorite elements of the playthrough so far. The music. The OST is awesome. Rock solid, A+, baller. The main theme you've probably heard before, but the rest of the tracks really knock it out of the park as well. Take a listen to this track from the opening moments of the game. The repeating riff is really simple, but it's moody, atmospheric, and really built an immediate excitement and tension as I started to play the game for the first time. There are lots of moments like this throughout the game, and I can't wait to mainline that sweet, sweet soundtrack through my ear holes once I'm done with my first playthrough. Stuff that isn't so great. Brief tutorials. The tutorials for very important mechanics in this game are usually explained in short, simple slideshows that are easy to miss or skip through. This is probably not an issue if you've played recent Fire Emblem games before, but if you're new to the series, or you're like me and have skipped a couple of generations, it might slow you down at certain points. For the most part, the mechanics are easy to get the hang of, but I do wish there was a little bit longer tutorial stages if you wanted them. Overwhelming data. For Fire Emblem nerds, this is probably not going to be seen as a disadvantage, but for some people, especially newcomers, the amount of information you have to hold in your head during a battle can get overwhelming very quickly. For instance, I still have not really figured out what to do when lecturing or instructing my students, and have just relied on the auto-instruct mode to get me through these portions of the game. I'm sure figuring this out will be rewarding during a more detailed replay of the game, but starting out it has been a bit overwhelming. Again, not a huge problem, more just a minor annoyance or some. The tone. As I've mentioned before, the game mostly goes back and forth between strategy-driven battles and RPG-driven tasks at the monastery. The battles are intense, and the story honestly gets pretty dark way faster than I expected. On the other hand, the monastery stuff is often downright goofy. For instance, I was in a battle that centered around one character, and I won't say who just to avoid spoilers, that ended with he or she having to kill their own father. 10 minutes later, we were back at the monastery cooking up a cupcake and giggling together. Like I said before, I actually like these lighthearted elements a lot, but the contrast between the overarching plot and the goofier aspects of the game can occasionally throw off the pace of the story a bit. Hey everyone, Undead here. So something that has been talked about as a kind of negative for this game is the lack of gay male support options for Byleth. And that's something that's been on my mind as I've been playing this game, but I think I might address it in its own separate video eventually. Anyway, just didn't want you to think I had forgotten about that. Okay, back to the video. Other stuff. These are not necessarily good or bad, just stray thoughts I had about the game. First, time turning and experience grinding. There's a mechanic called Divine Pulse that allows you to turn back time and erase your mistakes in a battle. This can be a lifesaver if you make a crucial mistake near the end of a battle, because it can save you from having to replay the entire battle over again up to that point. It's definitely saved my butt a couple of times so far and has absolutely reduced the fatigue that you could get from replaying battles. The fact that it has multiple charges and can be used even in hard mode seems a tiny bit broken. I don't know how I feel about it quite yet. There's also the option to retreat in a battle and start it over again, but you maintain the experience that you've already earned in that very same battle. This also seems like it could lead to some slightly broken over-leveling, but again, it's a mechanic I'm still on the fence about. Animations and cutscenes. They're pretty good. They're pretty slick. They're fun to watch, and I still haven't turned them off. Just wanted to shout those out too. Also, there's a dog! I was really excited to find it, so imagine my disappointment to discover, no, you cannot pet the dog in Fire Emblem Three Houses. I would like to suggest a dog-oriented minigame for future DLC though. And that's about it for today's video. Have you played any of Three Houses yet? Have anything that you would add or take away from my list? Drop it in a comment below, or just say hi, whatever. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. Also, don't forget, clicking the bell next to the subscribe button is really helpful if you'd like to be notified of when I go live on YouTube. I've been live streaming my Blue Lions playthrough in the midst of my usual Splatoon 2 streams, and I'll probably do a Black Eagles playthrough in hard mode next. Hope to see you there. Peace.